So I'll introduce the Alisa and Katie. You've met Alisa already. Alisa Percy works with me and she sat behind this whole planning of this forum. And Katie works with Alisa around, they've worked very closely together on the UTS Inclusive Educational Principles. So over to you both.
Thank you, Kathy. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
So hello everyone. For those of you who haven't met, my name is Katie Duncan and I work in the LX.lab as the Inclusive Practices Coordinator. And I just wanted to introduce this topic first by, we wanted to introduce this topic first by discussing why does inclusion matter? Because I think that's really a big question. And what we really believe is that inclusive education is really critical for providing equitable experiences for some students. So without thinking about inclusion, there are going to be some students who cannot participate and access and really reach their full potential. But the thing is with inclusion is that if we're thinking about this as a frame, it can actually benefit all students. So it's critical for some, but it benefits everybody. Next slide, please. So one of the concepts that I just wanted to introduce again and about the reason for having inclusive education is looking at this frame for designing for the edge. And I've stolen this from the Centre for Inclusive Design. And it's basically looking at, so on the screen is in a circle with lots of dots, and that's basically who design works for. Then there's another dot surrounding that with fewer dots representing people for who design works with difficulty. And then if you look at, there's an outer circle with even less dots, and it's really about who design doesn't work for. So if we actually think about designing learning experiences for students on that outer edge or designing for the edge, then we're actually improving that experience for everybody. Because if we can make learning experiences work for those students, then we can actually make it really beneficial for everyone. Slide me, please.
So, you on the screen there. But these are the UTS Inclusive Education Principles, and these are the principles that we're going to be exploring this year in relation to transition, so in relation to colour agreements, student experience. So I'll just go through them very quickly. So the first one is recognising and embracing student diversity. The second one is providing accessible and useful learning resources and environments. Number 3 is designing flexible learning experiences. 4, representing diversity in the curriculum. Number 5, scaffolding underpinning knowledge and skills. 6, building a community of learners. 7, assessing equitably. 8, feedback effectively. And 9, reflect on and evaluate practice. Katie and I talked about whether I say that list because it's not very helpful saying on the list. But we're going to explore these more deeply as we go through the day. So I'm sorry about that. Next slide, please. And what we thought we'd do is show just a relationship between the transition principles. So you might be familiar, if you've been part of the FFYE community for a long time, you're probably quite familiar with transition pedagogy and those principles. So they're the principles, sounds not very clear, but I think the same. So the 6 principles are transition, diversity, design, engagement, assessment, and evaluation and monitoring. And so we just show that there is a direct relationship between these 2 ways of thinking about inclusive design. I think that we all I need to say that one. Do you want to go to the next slide? I think sound.
So just wanted to talk about some of the ways that we're actually looking at inclusive education. One of the things that's really important to actually be able to enable this is by using mechanisms like co-design or looking at actually talking to students and getting that first-hand experience from the students. Because I think without that, it's really hard to, well, it's really easy to talk about inclusion without actually understanding how that can be implemented in your own teaching practice. And just kind of highlighting that we're looking at inclusive education, and we've done a co-design workshop recently with students as well as casual academics and some professional staff to investigate this further. Just kind of to highlight that it's actually really important to have that kind of co-design approach, or that talking with students to actually gain insights for what this actually means. So while the inclusive education principles are there to kind of have a start for how you can think about teaching, it's really through actually talking with students that you can understand what that actually means and to unpack it further. If you could slide me, please. The other thing that I just wanted to touch about is that the inclusive practices team. So this is the team that I lead in the LX.lab. And we very much look at this, the second or third principle, which is about creating accessible and useful learning environments. And so we do have some resources available for you if you wanted to look at them. And it's really about, we've developed an inclusive practice review, which is a framework for evaluating learning and teaching tools to see whether they can be made accessible. And we do have some resources for that on our website. And I can share the link with you later. We also have a consultation. You can ask for a consultation via Service Connect. So if you're wanting some more information about how to make content and accessible for students, we do have that as well. And we are also providing some high-level support for subject coordinators who have students with complex accessibility requirements. So just to let you know that there are some support out there, because while accessibility is only one of those principles about inclusive education, it is quite broad and complex. So just so that you know that there is support out there for that.
So now we just have, I'm just wondering if there are any questions for Katie and myself.
Maybe. Any questions online? I'll just chat.
We could move on.